Senior Report thanks Edmund Besch of Bristol Burgess Insurance Agency, 65 East Main Street, Westfield, for his generous grant to provide news to seniors. Funding is provided by a grant from New York State Senator Catherine M. Young, representing Western New York's 57th District with a local office in Olean. Funding is provided by a grant from Absolute Care of Westfield, committed to returning the favor to those who spent a lifetime caring for others. Absolute Care is located at 26 Cass Street in Westfield. Dave Cass and Rick Newell provide funding on behalf of the Lakeview Hotel and Restaurant at the Docks, located on Water Street near the lake in Mayville. Senior Report with Reed Powers thanks Westfield's Schultz Chevy for a generous grant to inform seniors of important news. Over 50 years of service to Westfield by Chevrolet, Schultz Chevy across from the school. The physicians of Jamestown Primary Care are happy to sponsor the Senior Report. From the Access Channel 5 television studio in Mayville, it's Senior Report with Reed Powers. Senior Report is broadcast live throughout northern Chautauqua County on Saturday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. each week. Call in and share a thought, make a comment, ask a question, or simply wish someone a happy birthday on Chautauqua County's only live call-in senior program. Since 1995, Reed has been bringing viewers hundreds of interesting guests, informing the community on a variety of subjects. Here's the host of the show, Reed Powers.
And good morning. What a beautiful day in Chautauqua County. The sun is beaming down, a gorgeous day all day. Have a great time out there. Campers and dancers and people who pick flowers and smell the roses. What a day. We have a great program coming up. We're going to be talking about developmental centers, and Steve Waterson, who's in charge of the public relations, as I recall, is going to be here, and he's got some good help from Nancy Ingram. And we also will have the phones open shortly. And remember, you can call in anytime with anything you want to say. Pat on the back, a boot in the rear. Anniversary, happy birthday, whatever you want. 753-5225 or just 753-JACK, like jack your phone in. We will also be doing a little bit of chatter about some of the things going on around in our wonderful senior clubs. Meantime, I look at the television, and it's kind of dreary these days. Between the attacks, I guess, Romney's pointing out that the financial problems of our country have not been solved immediately by our acting president. And Obama's pointing out, well, he's just a rich old guy, doesn't know anything about life, and a man who has probably $500 million just has no concept of what it is to live like we do. And he's got all kinds of programs to do away with our Social Security and especially they've got a real nice plan to do away with most of our Medicare. They're just going to hand you a few bucks and say, hey, go buy some Medicare. Buy a policy at the age of 90 or 85? Yeah, right. Especially if you have influenza or some stupid thing, you know. All right, so at any rate, the wars go on in Washington. Nothing's being done in the Congress. It's basically moribund. They just don't do anything to speak of, excepting just minor stuff that has to be, it's just mundane stuff. I mean, also, as you probably are aware, the Congress of the United States is probably the best paid Congress in the world. Thank you. Let's see, who was it? It was one of our great humorists anyway, had pointed that. We have the best Congress money can buy. so forth, so on, and it goes on. And they're being paid off big time, though, by everybody in sight, and it's very, very hard for us to get the little guys, let's say, our bidding done, we'll put it that way. Enough said about that. The state, of course, is virtually tottering on the edge of bankruptcy, but we somehow, by raising the taxes 25% last year and huge new fees, no new taxes, but the water, oh dear, and the sewage, oh my goodness, it's going to cost so much more this year. And these little things keep jumping in the parks and things like that. The fees, they're fees, they're not taxes. Stand back, guys. Locally, Chautauqua County has a shortfall of, from what they tell us, fortunately they had lost $10 million. They found it, which saved the day almost. We're only short $4 million, which means they cannot raise the sales tax. They cannot there's no way they are going to solve the financial problem except in one way. Your local real estate taxes are going to rise again. And last year, Forbes and other major financial firms had stated that we are the highest taxed county in the United States, not in New York, not in upstate, in the United States, and it's going to get higher. Stand back. We'll have Fred Crosscut on shortly and ask him about that. We had Lori on recently, and the minority, Lori Cornell, she runs the minority side of the aisle, but again, the minority side doesn't get much action compared to the majority, who can outrule anything and everything. All right, so moving along, we have at least some decent news. We have the seniors around here. We have the greatest senior clubs. Every village, every town, every church, there are all kinds of senior groups. Every one of them is a dandy. And if you haven't sent somebody who doesn't have much family left off to a senior center, it's time you did. Grab them by the arm and haul them off to the nearest senior center. They'll have a whole new family, a whole new bunch of friends, and it'll just be a terrific thing for them. Now we have the Great Belt seniors around here, and they have wonderful dinners. They had recently Dr. Marianne Spanos, director of the Chautauqua County Office for the Aging. Terrific lady, does the job. And they're cutting her back, but somehow she manages to juggle and balance things so that they survive. I keep telling her, I saw them moving a trailer down to the Mayville Park, and it had Office of the Aging on it. Oh, well, that's bunkum. They have a meeting, a potluck luncheon over at the Great Belts at noon on the fourth Wednesday of every month. The next one is September 26th. Which is all seniors invited. Anybody can drop around. Hey, can you go wrong? Monday, September 17th, they're going to have a special Customer Appreciation Day trip to the Niagara Casino. Don't gamble. You're going to get $25 and they're going to give you a free luncheon, and take the $25 and gamble it. Don't gamble it, just lay it out. And if you win, walk away. If you lose, walk away. Because any other way, you're going to walk away without your shirt. You're going to look really weird with that topless on the bus going home. All right, I wanted to mention the Mayville seniors. Now, we're in Mayville, which is a terrific bunch, and they really take care of the seniors here. Joyce Ayers does the job. If you want to get involved, call her, president of the Mayville seniors. There'll be a dinner dance on September 19th at the Cantone Fire Hall for all seniors. And there's a seminar about aging on September 27th at the Lakewood Rod and Gun Club. This is people nearby can go to that. Happy birthday to Juanita Gehring, Nancy Cole, Alice Paulus, and a whole bunch of other wonderful people over there. Wedding anniversary for Mr. and Mrs. James Subjack. Now that sounds familiar. Well, Jim Subjack was our attorney here, the county DA for many, many years, and did a wonderful job. Still working, got an office in Fredonia. His wife, incidentally, is on the village board over there. Can you beat that? What a team. The Adams won the door prize, which is a dozen ears of corn. Now, this is the corn time. Eat your corn now, because it's just about finished. And then the farmers will have overripe corn, and they usually just give it away. You ask them for, you offer them a couple bucks for a bushel of it, and then cut it off, put it in baggies, and freeze it. And it makes the greatest corn in the winter. And if you really know what you're doing, there's a special scraper, which millions of them around. I've got a couple I picked up at garage sales. And it scrapes the corn and mushes it. And then you freeze it that way, and then you make corn pudding out of it. You take that and mix it with butter and cream and all those wonderful good things, and you make a big crust in a bowl, and you put it in it and bake it in the oven again, and oh, heaven on earth in the winter. Next meeting for Mayville Crowd, September 6th. Drop around. They meet at the VFW at the foot of the hill in Mayville, and they ask you to bring your own table service and a dish to pass, and they're having their annual chicken barbecue September 22nd. Don't miss that. Silver Creek. President Carm Tampio does the job over there. You know, the Silver Creek Crowd has a tremendous following. They have their own clubhouse and everything. I just wanted to say hello over there to the Lewis and Jim Kroll, Morabito and Dorothy Mignard. They're having a great steak roast over there, September 19th. Hey, join the Silver Creek Crowd. Why not? After the meeting is adjourned, they play bingo. Everybody plays bingo. Okay, Sheridan Happy Seniors. They have their own song. Gonna have them come over. They've got to come over here. Anybody in Sheridan, give me a buzz and bring your song. And I like to get everybody on the air and have them just listen to that beautiful, happy song. President Ellen Settle does the job. And I just wanted to mention that Monday, September 24th, there's going to be a bus trip to the Albion Town Hall with a big lunch and everything. If you're interested, 934-3458. One of the advantages of senior groups is they have tremendous bus trips, many of them to the casinos. But they seem to be very enjoyable, the casinos. Well, they give you a free lunch usually. And they give you chips. I mean, you can just go down and play your chips once. I like to do that. I just do them 50-50 on the roulette, for red or black, you know. And I hope I don't hit the double green. Bob Settle introduced Bob Cizelski, and he talked, he's from the Sierra Club in Buffalo, and he talked about hydrofracking. Big issue up here. They want to hydrofrack. They drill for gas, and they throw chemicals down below, and they say, well, it never hits the water, even though they're very bad stuff. But we're a little concerned about that. So keep your eyes open. Enough done. I've got a public service announcement for you. And this is just for you, friends. And we'll crank it up.
If you could see anything in the world, what would it be? I'd love to see Paris.
I like to see cupcakes falling from the sky.
My daughter, married and happy.
I want to see things the way I used to.
Chances are, someone you love may one day be affected by macular degeneration or glaucoma. Log on to seeabettertomorrow.org or call 1-800-437-2423 to learn about glaucoma and macular degeneration. Call 1-800-437-2423 or log on to seeabettertomorrow.org.
I just want to see more of the things I love.
Okay. More of the things you love. Isn't that a wonderful thought? Steve Waterson, Nancy Ingram with us, talking about developmental issues. And tell me, what's your official title, Steve?
The Director of Community Relations at the Resource Center.
Okay, the Resource Center is a kind of a mysterious sounding term. What is the Resource Center?
The Resource Center is the Chautauqua County chapter of NYSARC, which used to stand for the New York State Association for Retarded Children, but now it's just known as the acronym NYSARC. We've been around since 1959, helping individuals with developmental disabilities and their families at first. Now the focus has expanded to helping anybody with any sort of a disability, as well as people who live on the margins, who have low income or other sorts of disabling conditions, that anything that would prevent them from living the kind of life that everyone wants to enjoy.
Mm-hmm. And you have these centers here and there. Where are they?
Wow, the Resource Center has about 50 locations throughout the county, including...
Right, just Chautauqua County.
In Chautauqua County. That includes about 30 group homes. We also have a big work center and day program operation on Jones and Gifford Avenue in Jamestown. That's the facility that probably most people in the South County are familiar with. In the North County, we have a day program and a diagnostic and treatment clinic on Lakeshore Drive in Dunkirk, which I think most people would know about. And then our Mary Andrews Center is a work center operation that is over on East Chestnut Street. So those are the biggest facilities that we have. And we also operate a primary care clinic in Jamestown. We have dental offices in Jamestown and Dunkirk. And again, diagnostic and treatment centers which provide services such as physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech therapy, things like that.
Okay, great. We have a call coming in from John Hamels. Doc Hamels, good morning.
Good morning, Reed, and good morning to your guest. How are you?
Well, we're fine, but where are you now?
Where do you think I am? Do they have a picture of me?
Oh, there you are. You're on a big ball or what?
Oh, I'm picking an apple. That's a Texas apple.
Texas apple. You're in Texas?
Yeah.
We're in Texas.
Sulphur Springs area, just the east of Dallas.
Uh-huh. Well, how about that? Now, what's new down there? I bet it's hot.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It was in the 90s yesterday and pretty humid, and it's supposed to get warmer each day. But I hear it was warm back home.
Yeah, well, it's 67 here. It's just wonderful.
Well, but yesterday was 89, I heard, or something like that. It was like 92 here.
No, that was just a false rumor. It's very common. It's like air conditioning up here. It's wonderful.
Oh, wow. Hey, I hear you have a guest. Is he from the Resource Center?
I believe he is, aren't you?
I am. We are.
We are.
Good morning. Well, can I tell a good story?
Sure, you've got plenty of time to tell a good story.
Okay. I don't know if your guest knows this or not.
My guest is Steve Waterson. He is the Public Relations Director.
Okay, Steve. I don't know how long you've been with the Resource Center, but my story goes back to the early 70s.
Uh-huh. When you were
Years
there.
ago. What's that?
When you were living there.
When I was around town. Back in the early 70s, I was hired by BOCES to be a special ed teacher, which has nothing to do with this, except for the fact that I was hired as a long-term substitute teacher. Who I was subbing for was a guy named Jim DePonto.
Oh, yes.
And Jim was one of the very early founders of the whole workshop concept for the Resource Center. And it used to be down on, was it 3rd Street? 2nd Street down there?
Well, we got Nancy Ingram with us, and she just nodded and said, oh, yeah. You know him, huh?
I'm the historian here today. Yes, I knew Mr. DePonso. He had just left the agency. Well, there was another brief executive director after him, and then Michael Raymond became executive director. And he hired me in 1974, so I've been around for a lot of it.
Well, anyway, so Jim invites us down and look at the workshop at the Resource Center, and Reed, if you looked at where the Resource Center was then and where it is now, it looked like a little storefront, and the kids were sorting like bolts and washers and things like that, and doing really some minor work. And to see where Mike Raymond took it from that point to all the things I heard Steve saying, all the different sites and stuff like that, it's unbelievably wonderful. And many of my students left BOCES as adults and then moved on to the Resource Center, and now are really, busy and having full lives, and it's really a great relationship.
Okay, well, that sounds like quite a lot. You're staying with some of your relatives down there, aren't you?
Right. Gary and Bev Molson, they're formerly of, did you know Al Hutchinson?
Sure did. He was my student advisor in high school.
Well,
and
his daughter.
And my English teacher, and he cut a deal with me because I was doing pretty good, very good work in English. That was my forte.
Imagine that.
Al said, look, I'll make a deal with you, Reed. You don't have to come to class. You'll get a straight A, but you got to write the senior play.
Well,
and I did.
Al's daughter, Beverly, married Gary, and that's who's here. So, small world, huh?
So you're a blended family.
My wife's family, yeah. Our trip to Germany got canceled, and that's a long story. I'll explain when I see you.
Okay.
But we turned around and just went the other direction.
Okay.
Well, listen, my time's up, I'm sure, so have a wonderful day.
You stay as long as you want. Well, why did they turn you down? You couldn't say, "Sick Kyle," properly, or what?
I can read.
No,
No,
now we've alienated all our German viewers, too.
No, Scott we were supposed to meet Scott over in Germany. You know, he's in the Army.
Yeah, I know.
And he ended up having to have back surgery, which knocked him out of commission. So we just decided it was the best thing, and we just all not show up in Germany.
So be it. I remember you had some friends over from Germany.
Oh, yeah.
And they came over to the studio. What?
Mm-hmm. Yep, Rudolph and Leo Party.
Uh-huh. Well, okay, John, thanks for calling in. You going to be with us next week?
Absolutely.
In person?
In person. Nothing virtual. Well, enjoy your time with the folks in the Resource Center. They do good work.
Okay, well, I appreciate your calling in, John, and you have a great week over there with your kids.
Okay. We'll see everybody real soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for the nice words, John.
Thank you.
He did speak highly of it.
He did?
Yes.
John Hamels does the job. Now, where were we, Steve? You were telling us about all the sites you have here, and the work site I was interested in. Do you find jobs? Are there many jobs for the kids?
Absolutely.
I'll let
there
Nancy
are.
take this one.
Yeah, Nancy?
We have a large employment program. When we began, we had the work center programs that the caller mentioned. Probably the mid-'80s to late '80s, we started to initiate community employment programs where the idea is to help people find and maintain jobs in the community. So while we still have the work center programs, Jamestown and Dunkirk, we have probably close to 300 people working in the community in what is called supported employment.
What does that mean?
That means that we help them find the job, and then we help them learn the job, and then we provide what support and follow-up they need after that to help them maintain the job.
There is some public funding, too, isn't there?
Oh, correct, there is,
for the
yes.
employer to ease the issue?
There are tax breaks for the employer. There is sometimes some on-the-job training money for the employer. And then, of course, our services are supported by state funding for the most part, New York State. And then we also have a sizable group of people that we help find jobs, and that's pretty much all they need. They maybe have never worked before. They maybe have some kind of a disabling condition that they don't think they can work, or they don't know how to go about it. But once we help them find a job, we do interview training, resume help, and then once this person is placed, they're pretty much on their own and they really don't need us anymore.
What is the shelf life of one of these jobs, these kids coming
Oh,
in
it
now?
varies. We have several people who've been working for 20, 25 years for the same employer.
So that they're
Correct.
just enduring
Yes.
employment, huh?
Yes.
Tremendous. And some probably go in and leave the next day.
Yes.
Which I did on a job once.
It happens. It happens. Not often, though.
So how many of these kids do you have busy out of your program, employed?
There's probably close to 300 that are working in the supported employment service. And probably that same number, I'd say, over the past 5-8 years that we have helped find jobs and they don't need as much support from us ongoing.
So actually it's a very active, interactive program.
Very.
In that you do blend them into the community with a job. Which is
If it's at all possible, yes, that is our preference.
Sure. Now, how many of them actually break free from the developmental home? The what was the
The
term?
home, you mean the residences?
Yeah, right.
Oh, well, people, there's a constant flux, kind
There
of.
is,
People move on to more independent settings if they want to and if they're able to. Some people don't. Some people are very well placed in one of our homes and remain there.
Well, that sounds good. There's been some negative publicity about the situation over in Fredonia. What happened there? They've got in Old Main, which was converted to apartments, they've got people who do have emotional problems right in with senior citizens. And there's been some interaction, very negative.
Yeah, that is not us.
That's
but,
nothing to do with you.
No, that is not ours, but it's unfortunate. I
Yeah.
haven't heard a lot about that. I don't know if you
right.
have, Steve.
Well, there was a murder, among others.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I didn't want to get into
No.
detail.
It-
But recently there was a beating. And,
Oh, dear.
It just hasn't worked out. Apparently
Yeah.
you cannot set a program up like this.
No.
It's unmonitored. I guess that's the problem.
right.
You guys are on top of everything, right?
Well, we certainly try to be.
We'd like to think so.
Yeah, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that things don't happen, because
Yeah,
they
of
do
course.
when you're
Anywhere.
dealing with anywhere.
In
Exactly.
a dorm, college dorm?
Exactly, they do. We do have an apartment building in Jamestown, and you know, it's got 24 apartments, I believe, and support is provided to people who live there. But we do not have the apartment in.
You got a phone call.
Fredonia.
You saw that signal, ladies and gentlemen.
I didn't know what you meant, but yes, now I do.
Ready.
Good morning, caller. Thank you for waiting. We can't hear you. I can't hear you. Can you hear it?
No.
No? Sound isn't coming through. Maybe the caller isn't really there. Fantasy.
heard something.
Fantasy caller.
Hello?
Hello, now you're on.
I just wanted to, my aunt is in one of the homes from the resource center, and I just wanted to praise them. She always has, always has a smile on her face, and she's so happy. And they have a picnic every year that they invite all the family to, and it's really a nice thing, and I would, anyone who wants to, I would say, you know, try and help them.
Well, there you go. Where do you have the picnic? Goodbye, caller.
Probably at the home. A number of the
Yeah.
homes have summer picnics where they invite the family members of the residents to come and enjoy a day. And the homes are very opening to the families as well. They encourage a lot of family involvement. A lot of the individuals who live in our homes with family in the area will go home and visit their families on weekends or go away for vacations. So
there's lots of family involvement. Hopefully,
absolutely,
hopefully.
yes.
How does one get into the home?
Well,
Sounds like a very hospitable situation.
correct.
And if you have some mental or emotional or whatever physical problems,
Right.
You could use this, but how do you get it?
The homes the Resource Center operates are specifically for people with developmental disabilities. That's a serious disability with onset before age 22. Usually people who are, you know, mentally incapacitated, cognitively disabled, or things like cerebral palsy. Those are defined as developmental disabilities. The only home programs the Resource Center has are for people with developmental disabilities. We do not have homes for people with mental or emotional disabilities.
Okay.
Specifically.
In other words, you don't take the crazies, but you do take people who are very slow, we'll put it that way. I hate to use the term, well, you know what I mean.
Correct. Our core population is people with developmental disabilities, although, as Steve mentioned earlier, over the years, the Resource Center's Board of Directors did make the decision to expand that mission and serve people with all disabilities. So we do have a significant number of mental health programs. We have a mental health clinic, and we have...
Where's that?
We have one in Jamestown on East 4th Street. And we have some support programs for people with mental illness. We do not, at this time, have homes for people with mental illness.
All right, that might be real complicated, huh? Especially since the state has closed down most of the hospitals, which we did have.
Well, correct. And well, one of the reasons the Resource Center expanded as it did in the late 70s and early 80s was because New York State was attempting to close down the state institutions that housed thousands of people with developmental disabilities.
Right.
And there were appalling conditions in those institutions, so the move at that time was to move people into the communities, back to their own communities if possible. So the idea of the group home developed, and that's where most of our residential facilities are homes like that.
As has been, let's say, highlighted by a number of people in the prison system, it turns out that a lot of these people wind up in the slammer. The ones that they have in the hospital, because they have no idea what they're doing. They're going to break the law, and then they're going to go to jail, and they don't really give them any treatment. to speak of.
Right. The Resource Center does have a collaborative program with the Mayville Jail to help that issue. Yes.
Now, what do you do? How do you interact? What goes on?
We have professional people that, a psychiatrist and a mental health counselor, I believe,
social
Steve?
worker, yep.
Social worker, who works with the jail personnel to assist them and assist prisoners who might also happen to have a mental illness.
Well, and also, you know, a lot of folks, when they're leaving the jail, they've got no systems in place to be able to go into a productive, meaningful life afterwards. And if they don't have those supports, they're likely to go right back into the same situation, associate with the same people that got them in trouble in the first place.
Yeah,
so.
they reoffend immediately almost, and then back they go.
Can.
Well, that's it. It's kind of like a warehouse for people that are screwed up, we'll put it that way. I don't know exactly what the term would properly be, psycho, but people who do have problems, especially the people who are possibly psychiatrically affected, they're going to wind up in a slammer. That's the new program now. Just bank them in the slammer and leave them there for a while. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It doesn't help anybody. But it's cheap. Hospital, if they send them to the hospital, mental hospital, would be $500-600 a day at best, and maybe $1,000 a day. Keep them $50 a day in a slammer.
Well, long term, I think if there's been a lot of problem, as you were saying, people were being taken out of state mental institutions on the promise and the thought that there were going to be dollars available for those community support programs, and those dollars haven't been there. So, you know, in long-term monies, I think it would be a lot cheaper to be able to provide those supports to people in the community so they don't end up in jail and can have productive lives. But that costs a lot of money at the outset. You look at it long-term, it would probably save money, but it's a tough thing to try to negotiate.
It is. These programs are we will not say they're easy, for sure. You're doing a great job in what you're doing. How many people do you have working for you? Sounds like the whole county.
We have about 1,800 people on our payroll altogether. That includes folks with disabilities who work in our work centers. As I mentioned before, we have work centers in Jamestown and Dunkirk. At those work centers, we provide some subcontracting for local industry. But the big thing that we do is for the past 35 years or so, we've been performing contracts for the federal government. Most of it's for the U.S. military, involving industrial sewing. And we shipped, I think a lot of people aren't aware of this, but we did more than $50 million in business for the federal government last year. We make
in 1 year?
Yeah.
Out of Chautauqua County?
Yes.
Holy mackerel, Andy.
Yes.
What do you do in these work centers?
We do
what do you do? You don't make rifles, I know that.
We don't make rifles, but we make the cases, the gun barrel cases that go into take the gun barrel off after you've been firing around and that gun barrel's hot, you put it in your case and take out the next one. We make first aid kits. So when the recent conflicts in the Middle East started back in 2003, when the Marines crossed over from Kuwait into Iraq, every one of those Marines carried a first aid kit that was made in Jamestown, New York at the Resource Center.
Oh, wow. So that's a big contract.
Yeah, there are numerous products we make. The current big contract we're doing is air cargo bags.
What are they?
I'm sure you've seen when materials or care things to help people come out of the back of those big cargo planes. They're big wooden containers, bigger, huge, and there's a canvas and net sling that goes around them, and they drop with parachutes.
Oh.
We are making those slings. It's a gigantic operation.
What do you make them out of?
They're made out of the specified materials from the government. It's very, very strong canvas and netting materials, and there's a lot of sewing, and there's big straps that go around it. It's a huge operation. And Steve is correct. People don't know the manufacturing capability we have at the Resource Center. And then the other thing to think about is that $50 million in contracts really gets multiplied into a pretty big economic impact on the whole community as people spend their wages. There's that multiplying effect of the income going into the community.
And you make a profit on it? Besides
on those contracts, yes, we do.
So that would help offset the costs of the developmental program,
Absolutely.
Right?
Correct.
So there you go, folks. This is kind of pays for itself in some ways. What's your budget per year?
This year it's about $120 million.
120, that's a lot of buckets.
Payroll's about $40 million. So that's $40 million in paychecks that people are taking and spending at the grocery stores and other businesses in our area. So as Nancy said, the Resource Center's economic impact, taking that multiplier into effect, is probably well over $200 million on the local community.
So it's you said the dough mostly comes from the state, right?
Yeah, most of our money comes through reimbursement in Medicaid dollars from the state and the federal governments.
Oh, that's good. Of course, the county.
But except for the manufacturing, that's contracting. That's the military buys those products from us. That's a business. It's not funding for that operation.
Okay, what's the difference between the Resource Center and the TRC?
It's the same.
Nothing.
The same.
It's the same
We're the
thing.
exact same.
Just
the acronym.
Different acronym. Okay, there you go. Folks who are confused, you're all set. We had one person call in here. They want to know that, so that takes care of that. Now, we're sitting here with Steve Waterson and Nancy Ingram, who are involved, very closely involved for sure, with the center. And again, what's the official name of the center?
The Resource Center.
Resource Center for Chautauqua County. And it brings in a bunch of bucks. You said how many million come in on that?
Our budget this year is $120 million.
Right.
Roughly.
And much of that comes from the state, and then you do make a few bucks on your work programs.
Yes.
Which you don't make license plates.
No.
No.
A lot of your folks do probably, but that's a different story.
Yeah.
We have noted that there is need for more mental health dollars and programs in New York State. They just dumped everybody out of the hospitals, and a good percentage of them wound up in the slammer, which is not much cheaper, but it's certainly not effective. Now, you're telling us a little bit about this. What would you do if you could improve your program? There must be things you'd like to see. If you had a wish list, what would be the top issue?
One of the top issues in my mind has always been the difficulty some segments of society have in accepting people with disabilities. It's just endemic. You hear from so many people we work with, how they were picked on in school, and how they don't have friends, and how they can't get a job because they look different. And I think if I could change anything, it would be a societal thing. I would hope that at someday society as a whole will accept people who are different, people who have disabilities, so that they can be fully integrated into the community.
Okay, we have a couple of calls. You want to take one?
Sure.
Let's do it.
Good morning, caller. Thank you for waiting.
Good morning, and this beautiful, beautiful day, but get your air conditioners going because it's going to be hot this afternoon.
Oh, well, that's great. Now, this is the kind of day to go swimming.
Absolutely. If you have access to a pool or the lake.
There's that big lake right
Use
near us here. Two of them.
Yes, exactly. I do have a question for your guest.
Go ahead.
Hold on just a second.
Must be a senior,
It is. Oh, she was speaking about hoping that in the future the people would be more acceptable of people with disabilities of any sort, or just differences. And I will say that one of the advantages I feel of getting older is that you become, well, in my case at least, you become much more tolerant of other people's differences and so forth, because we're all here, we all share this planet, and nobody's going anywhere else, and so you might as well make room and in your heart and soul for everybody.
Well, that's well said.
Thank you.
Very nice.
That's my only comment.
Well, okay. Thank you for your thoughts. If you send me a stamped envelope, I'll send you $5 off, maybe even $5 off, over at the Lakeview, which is a beautiful little place, a restaurant at the foot of the hill here in Mayville, New York.
I've been there before, and they do have wonderful food, and they have the nicest little salad bar.
Yeah, that's the greatest thing. They have the best salad bar I've ever seen.
Yes, they do. It's very good.
I think I counted over 15,000 different dressings and things. A lot, anyway. We'll put it that way. Everything I love, it was there. It was my dream salad bar.
It was a very nice salad
Well,
bar.
thank you, caller, and may you have a beautiful day. Get out there and
too.
maybe jump in the pool or in one of the many beautiful lakes around here.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. There you go.
Very nice.
Now, we were talking about the, well, you were talking, Nancy, speaking about the issues that you'd like to see improved, such as especially the acceptance problem.
Correct.
How many people do you have in the home that don't leave the home, that just stay there? What percentage?
What do you mean don't leave?
Well, they don't work. They don't go out and work.
Oh, very few.
Very few.
If people are not working, a lot of them are attending other kinds of day services and day programs. We have several sites where people can attend and do productive types of activities during the day. They can learn how to cook. They can learn how to, do their budget. They do a lot of volunteering. We probably have, 50 sites where we have people volunteering.
Yep.
So if people are not earning a paycheck, they're still busy and productive during the day, unless they're medically unable. But there's very few we have that don't leave the home during the day.
So most of your folks are working one way or another.
Oh, absolutely.
That's a wonderful thought, especially getting out and involving themselves.
Right, and one thing of interest to today's program may be that we also have a senior day program. I mean, the people we support age just like all the rest of us, and quite a few years ago we recognized the need to have a site where people can kind of semi-retire, but it's a day service that's just a little bit slowed down, and it's got increased nursing supports, and it's designed for our population that is aging and needs that kind of day activity.
Yeah, well, with the increasing incidence of Alzheimer's, which is a sort of a catch-all for somebody who totally loses it, doesn't know who anybody is, doesn't remember anything, is helpless in our society.
Correct.
I'm glad to see that they're beginning to show some recognition for need, extra help, especially for the caretaker. My God,
right. Yes, absolutely. And we have also, we expanded so much in the late 70s and early 80s when the institutions were emptying. Those people are aging now. I mean, they are old now, and we have recognized the specific needs of that population, just like the rest of the population that are not developmentally disabled. And we, as much as possible, want people to age in place. We want people to be able to remain in their homes for the end of life. We work very cooperatively with the hospice organization in Chautauqua County, who provides tremendous support to the people we support and our staff as we have the end of life approaching for them.
Yeah, hospice is a wonderful program.
They are, absolutely.
A great concern, and of course, again, the person, usually a daughter, who winds up taking care of somebody who's terminally ill, they need a lot of help, a lot of assistance. It's just so much work, and it grinds you down, and I'm glad to see that. Hospice is a good program, and we do, it does get federal funding, which a lot of people aren't aware of. You can apply for it, and it's covered by Medicare.
Oh, okay.
Which gives you, takes care of some of the bucks and brings, again, more money into the county.
Great.
People say, well, we have to pay half of our state Medicaid, which is a horrible financial burden in this day and age, especially in a very poor county, where a lot of people depend on the last ditch, which is Medicaid. They don't have medical insurance from their jobs. They can't afford it, $12,000 a year for a family. They have to wind up on Medicaid. And the state of New York is one of the two, I think, left that actually charges half the state Medicaid bill to the county, which is one of the reasons our taxes are so high here in Chautauqua County. And we have a huge number of seniors, and they take half of Medicaid right there. So it is quite a burden. But your program brings in money through the Medicaid, and that's something we don't count on. For every dollar we spend on Medicaid, we may get $2 back.
Correct.
Which is very, very important.
Right.
We're talking to Steve Waterson, Nancy Ingram, involved with the Resource Center. And the Resource Center, they're trying to open up as to what it does, what's going on, what their programs are. And now, if somebody wanted your assistance for one of their family, whatever, what do they do?
They would just call the Resource Center's main number, which is 483-2344, and they would be put in touch with our central intake counselor. Her name is Carol Peterson. And Carol would kind of interview the individual and or his or her family, kind of find out what supports are required and see if the Resource Center is the best organization to provide those supports, or maybe it's another agency in the community. And if so, Carol would steer the individual toward that other organization.
What's the, let's say, the opportunity to get in? I mean, how many people come and go? You think most people stay there, so there wouldn't be too many open beds.
Most of the people we support do not live in our homes. We support hundreds and hundreds of people that don't live in our homes. That's one service we have, is the homes. We have, as we've mentioned, the day services, all the employment programs. We have mental health services and programs. We have the day services. We have vocational rehabilitation, which is the whole assessment and helping individuals find jobs portion. We have driver rehabilitation, which might be of interest to your viewers this morning.
Driver rehabilitation?
Driver rehabilitation and training. We can assist people in learning how to drive. They obviously have to go through the New York State licensing process, but in addition to teaching young people with disabilities how to drive, we are also able to assess people as they get older to see if they can still safely drive. We can also help determine if they need adaptive equipment. You know, this could be because a person's getting older or because they've experienced a stroke or some other medical condition.
There's a great AARP program, AARP program for seniors. It's called 55, no, 55 and alive, but it's anybody over 50 can enter it. And also, even other younger people now, if they have a seat left, where you learn to accommodate your aging process.
Correct.
As you get older, you don't drive the same way. You don't take a left turn if you can avoid it. You do rights around the block. You never back up any further than you absolutely have to.
That's correct.
And you always carry a body stocking in your trunk. And you have to explain to your wife why. There's a body stocking, a woman's body stocking in your trunk. But the reason you carry that is it's an interesting safeguard. If you have a fan belt or something that breaks, you just take it and tighten it up on the two wheels, and it will function perfectly to get you at least to the nearest gas station where you can get a proper fan belt installed.
Very clever.
It is. It's kind of a great idea. You just take one of the legs, for that matter. It works fine. So, at any rate, now, what kind of training do you guys have to work at the center? I mean,
oh man, it varies. So, I mean, we have PhD clinicians working for us. We have physicians working for us, and I don't want to forget to mention the clinic programs. We have direct support staff. I guess the biggest single job description we have is direct support staff. Those are the individuals who provide the direct support to the people we serve in the homes or in the day programs. We do extensive training ourselves with them. We do a 2-week classroom and on-site visits initially, and then there's probably 6 months of on-the-job training for them.
So you can't just go off in the street and say, come over here, we got a job for you. There's a little more to it than that.
Well, if you have qualifications and you've done it before, maybe. But we have, I wanted to mention the clinicians. We have large clinic programs. We have a primary care clinic in Jamestown where we have 3 physicians and obviously nursing staff. It's a doctor's office open to the public. I myself, that's my primary care physician. I go there.
Could I go there?
Yeah, absolutely, you could.
And anybody, but they probably charge people.
Well, like any other doctor. I mean, you have insurance usually to cover it, or we take all insurances, including Medicaid and Medicare.
Which is wonderful, because down in Long Island where I used to live, they had a new industry, and that's making these little brass signs. We do not accept Medicaid.
Yeah, right.
Every other doctor had one, you know, and it's good that you have a place to go.
Well, that's one of the reasons why we got into the primary care business, is because there were not many providers in the community who were willing and able to take individuals with severe physical disabilities and other health challenges, which are a lot of the folks with that the Resource Center supports. But then there's also so many people who again live on the margins that can't get access to, they could get Medicaid, but they can't get access to health care. So the Resource Center is one of the few providers that will accept Medicaid for both primary care but also dental.
Yeah, the problem with Medicaid, which incidentally is now concerning me about what they'll do to Medicare, is that it's sort of detached from the market. In other words, Medicaid pays one amount, and the market is about double that, sometimes triple that. They still want to cut down even more now in the Congress, and so that even though you say, well, I've got Medicaid, I can get care, try to find a doctor who will serve you. I had a dentist friend down in Long Island who told me that Medicaid patients come in, he treats them for free, and he doesn't send the paperwork in, because by the time you send the paperwork in, and he says, like, this was a few years ago, he's getting about $10 for a filling or something. He says, I get $60 for a filling. And it's just not worth it to fill in the paperwork and have it come back because I missed a comma or it was in the wrong letter or whatever, you know. He said, by the time the harangue and round trip is over, I just take it for free. And he is a wonderful person, a wonderful soul. And any doctor who works under Medicaid is an angel as far as I'm concerned. So he's getting half his normal fee.
It's a challenge, and it doesn't meet the operating costs of providing that service. You're right. But if we're not providing at the Resource Center, where are so many folks going to be able to go and get health care in this community?
I understand there's a new center opening up now in Dunkirk. There's some kind of a center that I think it's under federal grant or state grant.
The
Federally Qualified Health Center.
Chautauqua
Health Network is leading that.
Yep.
So that there will be a little bit more possibility here. Interestingly enough, the state doesn't require a doctor to take Medicaid, but Medicare is, in most cases, required if a doctor's going to work in the United States.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I won't say that's a fact entirely, but you will find that most doctors will accept Medicare, and I suspect there's probably a little bit of the carrot and the stick here, if you know what I mean. Now, you guys have been working a long time. You're giving of yourselves. Do they pay a lot of money? Just out of curiosity. You know, people who are in public service very frequently work for next to nothing. Like, you know, you can be selling buttons over at Macy's and making just as much money.
I would say you don't go into this field if you want to get rich.
Correct. Correct.
Putting it that way.
Correct.
Okay, I'm not asking you personally, but just, you know, the workers that are working with you.
It's hard work.
Yes.
The direct support professionals that Nancy was alluding to are the backbone of the agency. You know, they're the ones who are providing that direct support. The Resource Center, we support people with from folks who need 24-hour, round-the-clock care. You know, totally dependent on people on staff to do everything for them, to folks who are very independent and maybe just need a little bit of guidance to be able to live on their own or be able to have a job. So the direct support professionals are what makes the agency go.
Yeah. Do you provide transportation when they go back for the doctor or whatever?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We have a large transportation operation. We provide transportation to individuals who attend our day programs and to some of the individuals who attend our work programs. The residences have their own vehicles, and they do all the necessary transportation for people who need to get to the doctor's office or shopping or work. The day services have vehicles that they use to take people out volunteering or that kind of thing. Our transportation is an area of concern to us right now because for many years we've been providing door-to-door transportation for people to our day programs and to the work centers. These are individuals who don't live in our programs, in our homes. And it's becoming untenable in terms of maintaining that. So we are in the course of taking a really hard look at our entire transportation operation and seeing what parts of it we can continue, what parts of it we can change, how it can be more efficient, and so on.
Does CARTS play into this somehow?
We are collaborating with CARTS, yes, we always have. We're collaborating with them a bit more intensely right now in terms of trying to streamline it and look at, for Chautauqua County, what's the most effective and efficient way to provide transportation to people who need it. And Of course, transportation is not just an issue for people with disabilities, it's an issue for people who are elderly, and it's an issue for people who are poor.
Yeah.
If you can't jump in your car and go somewhere, for whatever reason, life is pretty difficult.
Yeah, you do need a car in the rural counties, such as Chautauqua County, unless you live right in the middle of town, which very few people do.
Correct.
And you're totally independent, which very few people are when they get really old. When you hit your 80s and 90s, you need some assistance.
And we're looking for answers for the transportation issue and trying to get other folks in the community involved in this. So if any of your viewers are interested in trying to assist us or work with us in finding some solutions to the county-wide transportation issue, please give us a call. We're also always looking for volunteers, so if any of your viewers have some spare time in their hands and want to come and support what the Resource Center does by doing some volunteer work, or maybe even some paid work with the individuals with disabilities we support, we would encourage folks and welcome them to call us, yes.
Anybody who wants to give a hand to a very worthy cause, 483-2344.
You got it.
483-2344. If you want to drive, say, a trip a week or something, that's a nice donation, right?
Something that we can look at, yeah.
Sure. Outings, do you take them out? Do they go for outings? I see a lot of people from the Absolute Care Center, for instance, which is not anything to do with you, but they take them out for outings. They march around, they come down to the gazebo, and some people even push others in wheelchairs.
Right. Our people are out and about
all the time.
All the time. Days, evenings, weekends. As we mentioned before, a lot of people work and are pretty integrated in the community anyway and are quite independent. The people who attend our day services or live in our homes are out and about all the time.
So
and
they
do the
not
same things.
Not an official outing, but they're out.
Well, they're out, right. We try not to go out in large groups. We try to go out, a couple people, 2 or 3 people at a time. But they do everything that we do. They shop, they go out to restaurants, they go to movies, they go to events in the community. So yes, we're out a lot.
Good. Family. How many people have their family dropping around? You said the families are welcome.
Oh, sure
Absolutely.
They are. I don't have that. No, I don't know the number.
Most of them, I assume,
guess.
have some family around. The question is how much involvement there would be, family involvement,
Yes.
You got a brother that is developmentally handicapped. Sometimes they just say, hey, they're put away, forget it, They don't have to pay any attention. But it's very important that the family come around.
Absolutely. We're fortunate to have most of our families are actively involved. There are some folks who don't have any family, and for them, the Resource Center and the staff who work in their homes or their day program really are their family.
And their friends there, or they may have some friends there. Okay, now we're kind of closing down here. I want to give you each, give one of you. You're the boss.
I'm not the boss.
Who's the boss here? I don't know. Somebody. You got
Paul Chisana is our executive director. He's the boss.
Oh, you got 30 seconds, uninterrupted time to close off. Okay?
Okay.
Go for it.
We're obviously grateful to the community for all its support that it has given us over the last 50 years. We could not provide the services to the level that we do without the community support. For those of you who may be learning about the Resource Center for the first time, we would love to have you come down and maybe take a tour of our facilities either in Dunkirk or Jamestown. Again, give us a phone call and we'd be happy to arrange for you to come in and learn a little bit more about what we do. The Resource Center also is a membership organization. That is, that anybody can become a member of the Resource Center. You don't have to have a disability. Membership has been $5 a year for the past 45 years, so call us to become a membership. We offer discounts at local businesses to our members.
Thank you, Steve Waterson, Nancy Ingram, for coming and joining us. And will you come back sometime?
We would love to.
Okay,
Thanks for having us on.
Certainly.
I want to so sorry, caller, we're out of time, but they'll be back. You can always call again, 483-2344, if you want further information. I want to say a special thank you to Chuck Kelsey, Devin Taylor, Chris Burt, Randy Burt, Chris Ramaker, Jeff Zook, Don Zenz, John Hambles, all those wonderful people who make this program possible. I just want to say, friends, get out and enjoy your life as it is, and remember the other people less fortunate. We must also respect and care for these folks. May all that is proud and true and noble abide with you. I'm Reed Powers.